Hi guys, so this is chapter 1 of sociology. Yay! This is the very beginning. So I may have said it in a previous video lecture, but I'll say it again here. I tried to break down the chapters into anywhere between, they run between like 10 and 20 minutes to keep them kind of short. So I break up the chapter into various lectures. So you can consider this your first of probably many video lectures. And what I will also do with you is share the screen. So as I talk or as I lecture, I'll try to refer to the chapter slides so available to you as well. It is, I think, good practice to print off the slides and take notes as we go. Maybe you could also type them as you go. Okay, so I'm going to just assume you haven't taken Soc before, that you don't know what this is about. If you have taken psychology, one way that you can think of sociology and psychology is that they are opposite ends of a continuum. Both of them are interested in understanding humans. I keep looking over here because that's where my timer is. Both of them are interested in understanding human behavior and why the world is, the social world is the way the social world is. Psychology, being on one far end of the spectrum of the perspective, looks at the individual, goes all the way down to the individual brain cell. Sociology is at the other end of the continuum, and it goes so far as to suggest that there's no such thing as an individual, that we are compilations, we are products of our social environment, and none of us are unique. One thing that's really very important about the sociological perspective, and you'll hear me talk a lot about this, and this is what the very first activity that I have invited you to do is that Soc is about patterns. Well, actually, all science is about patterns, but so the first activity that I have invited you to participate in is where I ask you to look around you, look around the social world that you're in. I realize some of you might be sitting alone in a room, so you don't want to probably do that while you're sitting alone in the room. But the next time you are in with 2 or more people, let's say 2 or more, well, 3 or more people, look for patterns. Notice things like, and this is what Soc is about. I didn't tell you what to look for, but I'll let you read that in the assignment. Soc is about observing the patterns in human behavior and then trying to explain them. Another important concept is this idea in chapter 1 here, the sociological imagination. So first, step 1 is to observe the patterns, look how people have sorted themselves out, notice who is in positions of leadership, notice who's more likely to be poor, right? And again, what we have to assume is that there's no such thing as the individual, that we are all where we are at in the social structure because of influences, because of social influences, because of social forces. And the sociological imagination asks that you try to imagine, how did we all get here? What explains this? What might be going on? And the challenges and the reason this, the challenges, and some people really like this challenge. Some people really like this, this way of looking at the world. But it's a little contrary. This is not the way our culture has told us to see the world. Our culture has, remember, we're products of our upbringing, we're products of our society. Our culture tells us that things are as they appear, that they are quite simple. And the sociological perspective says it's not that simple, that invites us to be creative and to look. Again, I have to put this on pause. Yes, ma'am. Hi. Oh, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. And you're 40, is that what I heard? Oh my God, you're old. Goodness gracious. Uh-huh. Yeah, I'd never heard of Craig before, or whatever that was called. I'd never heard of that one. I mean, it used to be simple, and it just, none of it seems simple anymore. I used to get stacks of books every semester. No, it's actually a little bit different. I believe it's a smaller, there used to be something called Core Concepts, and it was 10 chapters. Can't find it at all. That was the closest thing, and I first thought that was too expensive, but then when I saw what you're probably paying for this one, I decided that one wasn't too expensive. Right. Okay, we just got to be careful that it's not the, yeah, I don't, that one is 2018. I can't, yeah. Perfect. I've honestly never seen that one. I've seen so many, you know, most people around here use Henslin, so I've seen so many of them, but I've not seen that one. That's what I thought too. Okay, bye. My apologies for that. Let's hope that doesn't happen again in the next 5 minutes. But anyway, so what I was talking about is that the sociological imagination is something that that we're not, our culture doesn't really encourage us to do, to say, do things look different from somebody else's perspectives, right? Okay, so that's what we mean by the sociological imagination. We've already talked a little bit about social context. So the social context, so here's another way you can think about this, the perspective. So this first chapter is really all about introducing this idea of what we mean by perspective. And I don't think that's really that difficult of a concept, perspective. We all know that the world looks different from the front of the room than it does the back of the room. And maybe some of you have played that exercise where, probably not in real life, but you know, the idea is that everyone is given a blindfold, and then someone is led to the front of the horse and touches the horse, and what are you touching? And then somebody is led to the back of the horse and has them describe it. You know, the whole point is that the world looks different. And I think that that is a fairly easy to grasp idea, right? But when we start talking about how my ability to negotiate, my ability to find employment, or my ability to negotiate through life, my ability to make a living and pay my rent, my ability to be successful, my ability to get health care, the success or my wealth, that those things, that part of, or what sometimes is referred to as life chances, that those things are influenced by where I sit in the social structure. That's a little bit less popular because it implies that some of us that some of us have easier access to resources, right? That the social context. So I was thinking I need to make a video slide of it, but I'll go ahead and make a little drawing of it right now. A shape that you're going to see me do a lot is a triangle, right? And the idea is that this is the way society is structured. That society is made up of a structure. This is our social structure. There are a few people at the top who have a lot of power, and there are a whole bunch of people at the bottom who don't have a whole lot of power. And one thing that's really important, and we'll talk about this a lot more, is that there are more people at the bottom than there are at the top, right? If all of the people at the bottom acted alike, and if they all believed the same thing and acted in a way that was for the group's interest, things would be really different, right? Where you sit in this structure right? Where you sit in the social context. This is referred to as your social location. Literally your relative placement in society. That is your social location. The significance, and here's another phrase you're going to hear a lot, your sociological significance. The significance of your social location is you're surrounded by people who are kind of like you, right? You're surrounded by people who have this similar social location. Think about neighborhoods, right? You have all neighborhoods probably have people who are of similar economic background. You're probably not going to find a poor person in a wealthy neighborhood, right? You might find a wealthier person in a poor neighborhood, but there's not going to be a poor person in a rich neighborhood, right? You may find a little bit of, I'll say, cultural and social, and maybe race and ethnic, right, blending of people, but not a whole lot. You're far more likely to find neighborhoods where everybody is white or everybody is a person of color than you really are to find a neighborhood where you have one white family, one family of color, one white family, where it's just we sort each other out, right? So this first assignment where I've asked you to look around you, partly what I'm asking you to think about is your social location, except in this case, instead of thinking of it as a societal social location, I'm asking you to think of it like as like a room or a cafeteria or your household, right? Okay, so that's what we mean by social location. And I think I'm going to stop here because it's right at 10 minutes and it's a nice place to sort of stop and invite you to do that patterns exercise. If I can figure out how to turn this record off. La 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 la.